Good morning. Strike. Cabinet was briefed about the ongoing impasse between Santaco Western Cape and the city of Cape Town, which has escalated into a violent strike as a result of the impounding of taxi vehicles by the city of Cape Town. Cabinet condemns the violence and anarchy in Cape Town and had called on Santaco to ensure that its protest action is peaceful and does not interfere with the rights of others. Yesterday, the president has called for all parties to go to the negotiating table, and we are pleased to announce that in the last 48 hours, there were no violence incidents reported. However, Cabinet directed that the South African Police Service and other law enforcement agencies bring the violent situation under control to allow residents safe movement to school, work, and their normal daily activities. The Cabinet was also briefed about the City of Cape Town's imposing of taxi operating conditions, which are at variance with both the National Road Traffic Act and also the National Land Transport Act, which regulate the traffic offences and applicable penalties, including the impounding of vehicles. And Cabinet has directed the Minister of Transport, Minister Cindy Chikunga, to ensure that any taxi operating conditions that contradicts the laws of the Republic are removed. On the fight against illegal mining, Cabinet welcomed the deployment of a special police unit, which is supported by the military in Rivali, Johannesburg, to deal with illegal mining in the area. In addition, Cabinet commended the arrest of over 194 suspects over illegal mining activities and directed law enforcement agencies to urgently clamp down on this and other serious crimes in the country. The Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, DMRE, has committed to close all derelict open mine shafts and mine holes in Rivali by the end of September 2023, whilst finalizing plans to close other derelict open shafts and mining holes across the country. On the security situation in Niger, Cabinet has noted the impact of the security situation in Niger is having on air travel between South Africa and Southern Africa in general and Western Europe, with negative implications for both business and individuals alike, and the airline industry that is just starting to recover from the devastating ravages of the COVID-19 pandemic. Cabinet reiterated government's condemnation of the coup in Niger and called for the speedy restoration of a democratic order, and also noted the initiative to restore normalcy under the ECOWAS. On the Russia-Africa Summit, President Cyril Ramaphosa was amongst other African leaders who attended the second Russia-Africa Summit in St. Petersburg in the Russian Federation. The summit adopted the Russia-Africa Partnership Forum Action Plan, which focuses on strengthening cooperation in areas of politics and security, economics, humanitarian matters, and interests of mutual benefit and prosperity. On the sidelines of the summit, African heads of state and government who are part of the Africa Peace Initiative on the conflict between Russia and Ukraine held follow-up talks with President Putin on the previously discussed confidence-building measures that will create conditions for a negotiated settlement to end the war. President Ramaphosa and President Putin also held a bilateral meeting and discussed opportunities to increase trade between the two countries, that is South Africa and the Russian Federation, and opportunities for the Russian Federation to increase investments in South Africa. On the BRICS Summit readiness, Cabinet was appraised that it is all systems go in terms of South Africa's readiness to host the 15th BRICS Summit in Johannesburg from the 22nd to the 24th of August 2023. The last of the BRICS ministerial meetings, which is the BRICS Ministers of Agriculture meeting, is currently underway, while the ministerial meetings of foreign affairs, security, trade, Industry, Education, Science, Labour, Communications, Health, and Urbanization Forum have concluded their reports for the Leaders Summit. The BRICS outreach program for various sectors and communities have also been concluded. These engagements provided governments, organizations, experts, and academics from the BRICS nations an opportunity to discuss issues of mutual interest that will enable informed decision-making during the BRICS Summit. On the NDP 10-year review, Cabinet welcomed the 10-year review of the NDP by the National Planning Commission that pointed out that the economy remains structured in a manner that does not serve the interests of all South Africans, which is a major reason behind increasing levels of poverty and inequality in our country. Government remains committed to restructuring and transforming the economy to serve the interests of all South Africans. On energy, the 25th July marked the first anniversary since President Ramaphosa announced the Energy Action Plan. Cabinet welcomed the progress made to date to implement the Energy Action Plan, which continues to register an improvement in the energy availability factor and improvement in the stages of load shedding. On tourism, Cabinet is pleased that the tourism statistics for June 2023 show that our tourism sector is slowly but surely recovering from the devastating effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. The June 2023 statistics from Stats SA show that volume of arrivals, departures, and travelers in transit increased for both South African residents and foreign travelers between June 2022 and June 2023. On the economy in general, Cabinet welcomes Stats SA's report of a drop in consumer inflation from 6.3% in May 2023 to 5.4% in June 2023, which is the largest decline since May 2020. This drop shows the resilience of our economy, which has been further buoyed by the South African Reserve Bank's decision to leave the repo rate unchanged at 8.25%. South African Sign Language Bill. Cabinet welcomed the recent signing into law of the South African Sign Language Bill by President Ramaphosa into an act which made the South African Sign Language the 12th official language in South Africa. This will promote the rights of about 600,000 South African Sign Language users. Cabinet decisions. The pre-release calendar for the publication of the quarterly crime statistics for the 2023-2024. Cabinet approved the pre-release calendar for the publication of the quarterly crime statistics for the 2023-24 financial year. The crime statistics will be released in August and November 2023 for quarters 1 and 2, and February and May 2024 for quarters 3 and 4, respectively. The frequent release of crime statistics is important for monitoring crime trends and better decision-making in the fight against crime. The financial inclusion policy. Cabinet approved the financial inclusion policy for implementation. The policy forms part of government's reforms of the financial sector regulations and in line with the Twin Peaks model of National Treasury. The policy, amongst others, aims to ensure better market conduct and the treatment of customers in the financial sector. The purpose is to ensure that financial institutions conduct business in ways that are fair to customers, prevent practices that undermine the integrity of financial markets, and build confidence in the financial systems. The implementation of the policy will ensure that the country strengthens its financial systems to support economic growth and promote access to financial services and financial inclusion for all citizens. It is an acknowledgement that while levels of access have improved in transactional accounts, this has not reflected across many other financial products and services. The policy is available on the National Treasury website, treasury.gov.za. On bills, Cabinet approved the submission of the draft National Prosecuting Authority Amendment Bill of 2023 to Parliament. The bill amends the NPA Act of 1998 to provide for the establishment of the Investigative Directorate as a permanent entity within the NPA and also to strengthen its investigative powers. Cabinet also approved the submission of the draft amendment bill, which amends the Regulation of Communications and Provisions of Communication-Related Information Act, RICA, of 2002. The amendments are largely to provide adequate safeguards to protect the right to privacy, as buttressed by the rights of access to courts, freedom of expression of the media, and legal privilege, in line with the 2021 Constitutional Court judgment that found that the RICA of 2022 is unconstitutional. On appointments, all appointments are subject to the verification of qualifications and relevant clearances. Cabinet approved the appointment of Mr. Percy Sichemane as Chief Executive Officer of the Trans-Caledon Tunnel Authority. The appointment of Mrs. Tatakahle Nonqhubela Jordan Jani as Director General at the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies. Mr. Duncan Peterson as Director General of National Treasury. Ms. Qinisile Precious Delwa as Deputy Director General, Enterprise Development and Entrepreneurship at the Department of Small Business Development. Ms. Musaki Neilwe Makele as DDG Sector Policy and Research at the DSBD. Mr. Xolisa Mambongo as DDG Global Governance and Continental Agenda at the Department of International Relations and Cooperation. Ms. Rosina Ngaka Dumalisile as DDG Affordable Rental and Social Housing at the Department of Human Settlements. Mr. Thabo Kekana as DDG Programs and Projects at the DMRE, Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. The National Radioactive Waste Disposal Institute Board of Directors, which is constituted by Ms. Limao Dora Modise as Chairperson, Dr. Wesley Bernard, Deputy Chairperson, Ms. Gratitude Rampaka, Dr. Hauhelo Shilwane, which is a reappointment, Advocate Derek Block. And the Board of the National Nuclear Regulator, Mr. Protas Pili, Chairperson, Ms. Pinky Dineo Peter as Deputy, Ms. Pinky Dineo Peter, Mr. Paul Hager, Ms. Nolubabalo Zolisa Zwakala, Dr. Pathmanath Naidu, Dr. Nandi Malumbazo, Ms. Theodore Bahlekazi, and Mr. Happy Kambule. The appointment of the Board of Directors of Inkomati Usutu Cashman Management Agency, Ms. Linda Carol Zulu as Chairperson, Advocate Geraldine Koza, Deputy Chairperson, Ms. Shivon Wiggis, Mr. Sam Tembu, Mr. Mukhobi Andrew Ramushu, Mr. Stephen Matume Matetsa, and Ms. Salume Shilwane Mwabeuza. On the State Information Technology, Mr. Kiruben Pile, Chairperson, Ms. Lerato Petlele, Deputy Chairperson, Ms. Katu Sibanda, Dr. Lucien Abraham, Mr. Luvuyo Keise, Mr. Mandla Martin Munisi, Mr. Renish Naidu, Ms. Nolita Peterse, and Mr. Lorem Seme as the National Treasury Representative. On current events, Women's Month. South Africa is commemorating Women's Month in August under the theme Accelerating Socio-Economic Opportunities for Economic Empowerment, for the Empowerment of Women, to pay tribute to more than 20,000 women who marched to the Union buildings in 1956 to protest against the oppressive past laws of the apartheid government. Cabinet calls on all South Africans to use the month not only to honor women who fought for our freedom, but also to play our part to build a society that supports women empowerment and guarantees the safety of women and children. On congratulations, Cabinet extends its congratulations and well wishes to the Netball Spar Proteas for making it to the top 6 in the Netball World Cup. Cabinet called on all South Africans to use such unifying moments as an opportunity to reach out to fellow South Africans to build social cohesion and promote nation building in a society where everyone feels welcome. Banyana Banyana for making history by advancing to the last 16 of the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup. Their incredible feat on the sporting field inspired the nation, and they've flown the country's flag high. Professor Thuli Madonsela, the former public protector, for being appointed to the United Nations Scientific Advisory Board for independent advice on breakthroughs in science and technology. Tatjana Schumacher for winning gold in the 200 meters breaststroke and silver in the 100 meters breaststroke at the World Aquatics Championships in Fukuoka in Japan. On condolences, Cabinet expresses its condolences to the family and friends of Imam Ahmad Kasim, 78 years old, the former Robben Island prisoner, Pan-Africanist Congress member, and founding member of the Gqibila movement, who was a veteran of the struggle against apartheid. To the people who lost their lives during the minibus taxi strike in Western Cape, the city of Cape Town. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, very much. We're now going to be taking questions, colleagues. We'll start with the media houses in the room. And the obvious custom is that the person will introduce him or herself, the media house they represent, and then we can then move to the colleagues online. Are there any in the room? Okay. All right. Thank you. Then Peli, you will take us through the online questions.
Yes, I have two questions online. The first one is for Suman Naidu. He's a freelance journalist for Legal News SA. His question is, has Cabinet been briefed by the Minister of Justice on the decision of the Correctional Services Commissioner in relation to former President Zuma? And then he adds to say, are you able to comment if there's any notice to security services to be on high alert in anticipation of that decision? Another one is from the Sunday Times, Amanda Koza. She's saying there are reports that pressure is mounting for the U.S. ambassador to South Africa to be expelled from the country. Now that the Lady R panel has concluded its investigation, did Cabinet discuss how the government is going to manage the Bridgetine matter? Is the South African government pushing for the ambassador to be expelled? And then there's an additional one from Vicky Stark, who's a freelancer for Voice of America. She is asking, has Cabinet discussed the Lady R report? Has the President read it yet? And what are the next steps with regards to the report? That's all we have at this point. Thanks.
Thank you, Peli. Minister, over to you.
Thank you. On the Concord decision as it relates to former President Jacob Zuma and the orders to the Commissioner of Correctional Services, the Concord judgment is specific, is the decision of the Commissioner of Correctional Services, and that remains his decision. On the Lady R report, the President has received the report. He will go through the report and apply his mind. The report is meant for the President and not for Cabinet. On the allegations of pressure for the expulsion of Ambassador Bridgetine, fortunately, we do not deal with diplomatic issues and diplomatic relations with countries through megaphone diplomacy. We follow proper channels, and any decision that is taken will be communicated by the relevant ministry, which is the Department of International Relations and Cooperation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Peli, do we have further questions?
I'm not sure if you can wait a bit. There's a journalist from Chinese news agency who's busy typing right now their question. He's not in the group. He wasn't sure where to post the question. So I don't know if there's that allowance available. Yes.
Okay, I think we'll give 1 minute.
Perhaps
Okay,
to
in the-
just proceed. Yes.
All right. In the room, there are no questions at all. Okay. Thank you very much. I think what we will do, Minister, with your indulgence, is that we will then communicate the response once the question has arrived. And right now, maybe we just wrap up for today. Minister, thank you very much for taking us through, and the nation. Okay. Yes, Pele.
Thanks, Vicky. This is Zong Shana from the Chinese news agency. She's asking, with the Chinese presidential visit, what does the cabinet make of the relations between South Africa and China? What does South Africa expect from the imminent visit in terms of strengthening trade? Thanks.
Okay. Thank you so much. Minister, will allow you to take that one as the last question. Thank you.
Thank you. South Africa values its relationship with the People's Republic of China, and this is symbolized by the extent of trade between our two countries. So during the visit of President Xi Jinping, we are expecting to have deepened relations, both in terms of trade, the peoples-to-people relationships as well. But during that visit, the President Xi will also meet African leaders in a roundtable as part of strengthening not only the relationship with South Africa, but the relationship with the continent of Africa. And we are looking forward to receiving President Xi in South Africa, as I've indicated, in terms of the BRICS summit readiness. It's all systems go. Go ahead, the Peliso.
Okay, thanks, Minister. Marvin Adams is a freelance journalist and is asking, has Cabinet discussed how the country has increased racial tensions in the country, and how would government go about dealing with this? And then his additional question is, has Cabinet discussed how the country has increased racial tension? It's the same question, Minister. You posted it twice.
The Cabinet has not discussed the increase in racial tensions in the country, but every time incidents of racism raise their head, we continue to condemn them, and we continue to urge our communities to work together to build a united and prosperous South Africa. And a united and prosperous South Africa can only arise when all South Africans feel they belong, when all South Africans can participate in the economy of this country. Therefore, is the reason that Cabinet continues to drive the transformation of the country economically and socially, so that all South Africans can be equal players, both in the body politic, in the economy, and the social structure of our country as part of one nation. Thank you very much. And I'll take this opportunity to close the press briefing. And thank you, Nomonde, and to the media houses that are here. We wish you a lovely weekend going further, but we wish you that you report significantly on matters that affect women empowerment, on incidences that affect that of gender-based violence and femicide, as part of our quest to make sure that women and children are protected and are equal members of society. And women will never be equal members of society if their well-being is threatened. Thank you very much.